Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my segment on the acuCONNECT conference on the expansion opportunities. So we're looking at opportunities in Australia and New Zealand, leveraging off the Acumatica connection that we have with MYOB Advanced. So to let you know a little bit more about MYOB and what this connection is with Acumatica and Advanced. MYOB Advanced is essentially a white-labeled version of Acumatica, and it's distributed and marketed in Australia and New Zealand, and it has been for the last 5 or so years. So it's the reason why it's of significance for everyone who's connected with the Acumatica brand is because the API is essentially the same. We're using the same platform. We have our own marketplace. So if you integrate with Acumatica, then you can essentially integrate with MYOB Advanced and start doing business here in Australia and New Zealand, as you can see. So a little bit about MYOB. So we've been around in Australia for over 30 years, very strong brand. And we've actually got a team which is around 2,000 employees spread across Australia and New Zealand. And we're essentially advocates for business. So we want to, as you can see here, we want to help businesses start, survive, and succeed. So it's a very, very important point that we help businesses all the way from starting up phase, if they're managing their finances from their spreadsheets, all the way up to enterprise size clients. So we currently serve around 4,000 ERP providers here in Australia. So roughly 2,000 of those, or half of those, are using MYOB Advanced, and the other half are using legacy ERP systems. Okay. And so we support some good numbers here, 65,000 users per day. And essentially we've got support structures in place to manage all kinds of businesses that need our assistance. In terms of the sweet spot for MYOB Advanced, we talk about if their turnover, say, $5 million per annum, they're a good target for MYOB Advanced here in Australia and New Zealand. Okay, so if you're going to do business with MYOB here in Australia and New Zealand, it's really good for you to understand what the ethos is around the brand. And MYOB markets itself as being a business management platform. Okay, so you can see here that we want to be the one system that knits everything together. So in terms of dealing with third-party applications or ISVs, they're crucial to this mix because they provide functionality in all these different areas. It extends the reach from MYOB Advanced further than our platform by itself. So for that reason, we're really open to partnerships with ISVs here in Australia and New Zealand. So I thought it'd be good to give you a little bit of an overview of what the market actually looks like here. So we have what's called an app marketplace, which is very similar to the marketplace in Acumatica. So essentially what we're talking about is we'd like to see you leverage the connection that you currently have with Acumatica, and then put it on to and basically get a demonstration set up with me, and then we can get you listed on the app marketplace after providing you with a demo environment with MYOB Advanced, which is very simple for you to basically load up that customization over there. So we have a very, very, as I said, simple process for onboarding. We have a developer program as well. So it's one of those things that's very easy form to complete. So you can basically get on the MYOB system, and then it's pretty straightforward from there. Now, We can also help with commercial assistance, which is very important because we have a different model over here in Australia and New Zealand as opposed to Acumatica. We have both a direct and a channel model. So as a third-party vendor, if you're working with MYOB, you want to basically see two streams of business that you need to ensure that you're gaining maximum awareness about your platform. So it's direct with the internal sales team, and I can help enablement sessions with the sellers. And also we have a channel partnership network as well. So there's around 40 resellers across Australia and New Zealand that are actively selling and implementing the platform. So they're going to be very interested in seeing should you choose to come to Australia, they're going to be very interested to see what sort of functionality you have and how you essentially extend the reach of MYOB Advanced. So this is a bit of a graph here just to help you visualize the Australia. Okay, so what I've got here is I've actually got California displayed plonked in the middle of Australia, right in the desert. So to give you a scale of the size of Australia, and I haven't even got New Zealand in the picture there, sorry guys, but this is basically the scale of Australia in terms of size. Not let that worry you, but in terms of how the size of the economy of Australia and New Zealand. The reason why I want to put this graph up here is because it's interesting for you to think about, okay, so what does this opportunity look like? How big is Australia? How could I visualize that? So our annual turnover was 1.3 trillion and we've got 2.1 billion GDP. So combine that together, it actually amounts to the half of the GDP of California. So you could imagine that Australia and New Zealand is effectively like a state of half the state of California that you're going to be keen to attack it with your solution to ensure that maximum awareness of the platform is obtained. Okay, so we've essentially got half the size of California here. We've been a partner since 2012, and yeah, we've got a market share of essentially 10% of Australia, and yeah, so we're quite I guess a good brand in the marketplace, and the only one that's got an end-to-end solution, which is quite interesting, I believe. So a little bit about us, what makes us tick. So we're a highly digitized society, so we're happy to use technology absolutely where possible. We still have many companies that are in the dark ages using pen and paper, which is why we want to have these discussions with you to help us digitize. So we're highly tech savvy. So we are, yeah, we like using technology, you know, IoT devices, all these sorts of things. We've got no inhibitions when it comes to that. But the third point here is the fact that we're highly regulated, which is an opportunity for software vendors because of all of this red tape with HR, financial compliance, and OHSA, compliance, or OHS compliance, as we call it here in Australia. What it means is that all of these different business flows that everyone has to follow, all the checks and balances to confirm that they're meeting all their requirements, a lot of data needs to be captured, and this is what we use some elements of our platform and our ISV's platform to help us manage with all of these different sort of aspects here. Okay, so we're happy to be early adopters, so we don't need to see 100 sites set up to have confidence. If we can see your solution working, especially with a track record with Acumatica, it will really help you get things moving, get conversations happening here in Australia. Okay, And lastly, we actually have lots of grants and tax incentives available for businesses to digitize. So it's an extra way for you to help get your product in there. If you or your partners can identify different entrepreneur schemes that the Australian or New Zealand government might have, these are other opportunities that you can use to get them to complete the process of applying for money from the government, which is then put towards the implementation of your solution in some cases. So it's very interesting for you to have a look around at what schemes are available. Okay, so as I talked about before, our business model is we have 70% of our business coming from channel and 30% coming from direct. So this will really help you get an idea of what focus or what emphasis you would have on the channel market for MYOB Advanced, as opposed to how much sort of effort you're going to want to put into the direct channel. It's always very it's a good idea to essentially hedge your bets there. So in terms of required structures, so it's very it's very important for you to think about what sort of structure you would want to have in place before you go and launch here in Australia as well. Because it's very, you need to be able to support on Australian hours, which is quite important. So in terms of going on to the MYOB Advanced App Marketplace, the transferal process is quite simple. We can essentially provide you with a demonstration environment, which is MYOB. You'll be very familiar with it. And then you essentially load up your customization that you've got for the Acumatica onto the MYOB Advanced environment. And then we'll be able to essentially have the data flowing from your platform, and then we'll set up a demonstration, and then it's a simple process to get you listed on the store. Okay. And then once they're there, we can help you start identifying sales opportunities. So through the enablement sessions with our sales teams, and also helping you network and interact with our channel partners. So I'm happy to provide introductions as required. What we also do is we have showcases in terms of marketing opportunities. We have showcases where we do structured training programs with our sellers. We also have certain themed webinar series. For example, we've got construction and manufacturing going on at the moment, as they are the biggest, sort of strongest markets for us here in Australia and New Zealand. And so we can always look at opportunities of getting you involved, like whether it's awards programs. The closer you work with MYOB Advanced, or essentially myself, the quicker you'll be able to get your foundation in place, and also the more opportunities for advertising your application you'll be able to find. Okay, so essentially, I'm happy to. I'll get my mic happening so we can do some Q&A, but I just want to leave this up here. So if anyone is interested in starting out in Australia and New Zealand, or ANZ, as you can see here, I'd like you to feel free to pull out your phone and scan, either book a meeting, which goes into my diary, or if you want to connect up with me on LinkedIn, or have a look at our website, which is essentially MYOB.com. So I'll try review to see if there's any questions. Okay. If there's any questions in the chat, feel free to enter them here. Yes, thank you, David. So there are three options with MYOB Advanced. You can you can essentially gain access or free access in effect, which is called open access, and I'll show you how that's done. So if we go here and okay, so this is the form that we need everyone to complete, which I'll put in the chat here. So essentially we have which level interests you. We have 3 different levels: open access, developer partner, and premium developer partner. Anyone who's listening here today who wants to run this or get involved with this, we can essentially, I would tick open access, okay? Now, and this is if you're just doing a feasibility study, let's say. This comes with a local installation, okay? Like the other 2 levels do, but there's no cost associated with it. So if you're just having a look, you can request open access. If you'd like, and this is all in Australian dollars, so it's about 150 a month to become a developer partner. And the reason why you might want to consider becoming a developer partner is because you get access to your own domain. So to be it'd be demo. So your software name -demo.myobadvanced.com, which is easier for demonstration purposes and sort of sharing around, as opposed to a SQL database being required. So I thought I wanted to touch on some partners who have done a lot of work that come from Acumatica to MYOB Advanced. Some that you'd be quite familiar with. So Netstock, they've got an Australian arm here. We've been doing a lot of work with IGG. Tiana as well is another application that's listed with us. So I'm on the App Marketplace here right now, which I'll put in the chat. There we go. And yeah, so we can actually see even e-workplace apps. So one of the things we've done with e-workplace apps is we've essentially white labeled their solution. So we're reselling it with our platform partners, so and our sellers. So what that means is that we're really interested in seeing what solutions you've got and how they complement MYOB Advanced, and especially if you do develop on or customize on the Acumatica framework, so it's available within the window. We're very, very interested. We love the embedded solutions. So yeah, as you can see, e-workplace apps, they're a familiar application that works with both Acumatica as well. Lumen is another, just as a quick one. Trailed here, and IIG with their suite of products. They're an Australian success story. They won our App of the Year last year, and I know that they're doing a lot of work with the Acumatica in the States at the moment as well. And you can see CAD Talk, they're a really strong provider for us in the manufacturing space with what they offer. And Assigner, they're also a solution provider that do both as well. Yeah, so feel free to put in sort of any questions that you may have. The one thing that's key with MYOB Advanced or working here in Australia and New Zealand is that we have different models with reselling and also with helping you set up a sort of partnership channels here. So essentially, you can have your own platform. So you're going and doing your own deals direct. We can also have it so we have we're incentivized by like a finder's fee commission if we if we provide you with a lead that gets closed, then we might get a commission back. And also the third option is that if we white label your platform, so these are which then we sell it, and we essentially would ask you to fulfill. So yeah, there's three options that we're happy to talk about. So before I close, there is I'll just advise that there is, besides from Acumatica, there are other platforms that you can potentially integrate into that can add value. We have a marketplace for our workforce management application as well. It's completely separate. It's a completely separate code base, but this is essentially a workforce management application that's used quite heavily in the retail and hospitality sectors here in Australia. So if you're interested in in learning more about that, so yeah, workforce management, yeah. So it's essentially this application here. Okay, that you're welcome to have a review of as well. Okay, all right. So what I might do then is I might close the session in a moment. If there is anyone that's got any questions at all, please feel free to put them in the chat here, and I can address them. Otherwise, I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you've learned something. I always want people to learn at least one big, strong idea out of the presentation I've done. So hopefully that's been the case with you. So you're welcome to reach out, and thank you very much, David. And look forward to working with you in Australia, New Zealand.